when we transform formulas, okay, we're using inverse operations, but we're doing it in a way that you're not going to get one simple solution or multiple solutions or no solutions. All right, you know how the other day when we worked on solving equations and we came up with one solution where there was one number in the whole wide world that made the equation true? We came up with no solutions, which meant there was no number in the whole wide world. And then we had infinitely many solutions where all the numbers worked. Remember that? Okay, this doesn't work that way. So if you get an answer, or you give me an answer that says x equals 2, you've done something wrong. Okay? Because these aren't working like that. These are where we have to utilize our inverse operations to solve for a different variable. Okay? Not all of them are going to be able to be done. Like, it's one of these where I can't give you enough examples that you're going to get an example of every kind of problem you're going to see. Okay? These are one of these where you have to understand the process and look at each problem and be like, okay, what do I have to do? Everybody good with that? All right, perfect. So let's go ahead and write down what a formula actually is. Okay? We have lots of formulas. We are familiar with lots of formulas. Most formulas you probably had to memorize at some point in your life. But a formula is an equation which defines the relationship of one or more variables to other variables or numbers. So in other words, it tells you how those things are connected. Okay? It tells you how something relates to something else based on the formula. Right? So like our most common formula that you have probably worked with is what? Area equals length times width. Right? That tells you how the area is related based upon your length and your width. Alright, does that make sense? So depending on what you're given or what you need, you can manipulate different equations and different formulas. Alright, so let's look at the first formula that I want you to see today. Alright, we ready? We're going to solve formulas for the variable that is indicated. So here's what that means. That means rate times time is equal to distance. And it wants us, what's it currently solved for? What's this currently solved for? If I'm looking here at this formula, what is it solved for? D, or distance. You're familiar with this, right, from science? Rate times time equals distance. Okay, oh, you're doing it right now? Rate times time equals distance. It's solved for distance, right? That's what it's equal to, distance. And then the colon says, hey, solve for t. Alright, so in other words, we want to take what we got and we want to solve it not for d. We don't want it to be equal to d. We want it to be equal to t. Alright? Now, a lot of times you're not going to see it with this dot right here. What are you most likely going to see it look like? Yes, sir. You're going to see an X right there? I hope not. Yes. Maybe parentheses. See what's going on back there. Yeah.
Just RT.
Most of the time you're just going to see it as RT is equal to D. Now that we have rate times time, this is how we're most likely going to see it. What operation is this, though? Sir? Multiplication. What is the inverse of multiplication?
Division.
Division. So if I want to isolate the t, how can I isolate the t? Divide by what? R. Why did you choose to divide by R? Because that's what's connected to each other, right? So that's what I have to get rid of. So I can simply divide by R on both sides. And now instead of it being written in terms of D, now I can have it written in terms of T, because my R's cancel out. And T is now equal to what? Distance divided by rate, or D over R. Does that make sense? Can everybody handle that? Now I started super easy. Okay, started super easy so that we can make sure that we understood our inverse operations, right? Okay, questions about that one? All right, let's look at that one. All right, I want you to do this one on your red when ready. And when you're ready, let me know. There's not. Now there's one next door, but they're over there now. So now they're fine. I guess that means you're doing it all on a paper then. When you're ready. Give one to him and here, give one to them back there, and we'll just share that one. All right, we ready? Most of us are red when ready. Tell me what operation, well, what am I trying to manipulate and resolve for? It's currently written in terms of F. I want it to be written in terms of A. So here's my A. What operation is currently taking place with my A? Multiplication. The inverse of which is division. So I should divide by M. Alright. So it's given in terms of F. I want it to be in terms of A. So I'm going to divide by M. My M's cancel. And so my answer is going to be what? F divided by M is equal to A. Or most of you probably wrote it with the A first, right? Didn't you? Because you're funny like that. You like to have it written like that way. So now instead of it being written in terms of F, it's written in terms of A, and we are good to go. Most of you probably wrote it like that because you are particular like that. How many of us got that right? Show of hands. How many of us got that right? Amazingly, you didn't get that right?
No.
What did you do?
I did it backwards. I did the A. Me too.
Okay. You got to solve for the A. That's what you're solving for.
Why is that?
Because that's what it told you to solve for. Okay?
Okay,
That's the only reason. If it had told you to solve for M, you would have divided by A. Okay?
So like if you're solving for A, just go ahead and write A equals.
Well, no, I mean, because there might be more than one thing that you got to do. Okay. All right. So far, so good? All right, let's look at this one. Oh, they said. All right, let's write this one down. You ready? I would write it on my paper because you're going to want to refer back to it later. So I would write it on my paper so that I would have it permanently in my notes. But if you feel good about it, I guess technically I can't make you. I could make you, but I don't want to. Okay. But don't come ask me about it later if you didn't write it out under notes. I'm just saying. All right, you ready? Now, what am I solving for? Sorry, yes, ma'am. H. So a lot of times it's like you're not going to see it written with this dot. You'll see it written like this. By the way, what is this for?
Triangle.
The area of a triangle, right? Everybody agree? So I'm solving for my H. Here's what I'm solving for. How can I, what operations are going on here? Multiplication. What do I probably need to get rid of first? The fraction, the half. The half is being multiplied to the B and to the H, right? All that's being multiplied. So how can I get rid of a half that's being multiplied? I divide by what? Okay, please don't write this down. Here's what you're telling me to do. That is exactly what you said do.
Divide by 2.
You said divide by a half. Right? We don't do decimals.
Divide by 2.
Okay? Yes, ma'am?
Would you multiply by the
Okay. That looked intense, right? Okay, we don't divide by fractions. We don't use decimals. So instead, from this point forward, you might want to make a note of this somewhere.
right with your receipt?
Don't divide by fractions. Instead, Camille, what do I do?
Multiply by the
by
reciprocal.
the reciprocal. All right? We do not divide by fractions. Instead, we multiply by the reciprocal. Okay? So, what's the reciprocal of 1 over 2? 2. So I'm going to multiply this entire, because how many terms is this, by the way?
2, 4.
This is one term right here. And that is one term. Okay? Terms are separated by the plus or minus sign. Remember, it's like the welcome to the next state sign? Okay? So I've got to multiply this whole thing over here by 2. And I got to multiply this over here by 2. Because it's the reciprocal of 1/2. Okay? If this were a 3/4, what would I multiply by? 4 over 3. Okay? If it were 2/3, what would I multiply by? 3 over 2. You know how to find the reciprocal? Okay. 2 times A is what? 2A. Is now equal to the 1/2 and the 2 are going to cancel. Right?
Yeah.
Everybody agree with that? What's it going to leave me with?
B.
B
My bad.
h. Right? What am I solving for? H. Which means I need to get rid of my what? B. What operation do I currently have? Multiplication. The inverse of which is division. So I should divide by B here and there. Those are going to cancel. Is H finally by itself?
Yes.
Yes. You probably want the H to come first, don't you? H equals, what does H equal? 2A over B. See how that works? Questions about that? You got to ask them, boys. If you don't know, you got to ask.
Is that all it is?
Well, have you used your inverse operations to do it? Then that's all it is. This is not going to be one of these where you're going to get a final answer. Now, if they gave you values for A and B, you could get a final answer. But if we don't know what A is and we don't know what B is, then we have to leave it like that. Okay? So, final answer is here. Everybody okay with that? Yes or maybe? We good? Alright. Remember, my superhero powers only extend to getting rid of fractions and decimals. I can't read your mind. So you got to tell me what you want to do or what you need help with. Everybody okay? All right. This one. I want you, now listen closely to what I want you to do. I want you to write this on your ready. Okay? And I want you to try to work it. The worst that will happen is that you get it wrong. Okay? Let me know when you're ready. And do your best. Remember, it's okay to be wrong. It's so not okay to not try. When you're ready. I think some of you will be pleasantly surprised. Okay. Most of us are ready, and those of us that aren't are finishing up. so you'll be able to kind of follow along. Look at your paper and don't erase. You ready? Look at your red one ready and don't erase. The white side of your red one ready. All right, we're solving for what? We're solving for h, okay? What's going on that entire side? Multiplication. All right, so I know that I'm gonna have to get rid of some multiplication. What do you wanna do first? Sir,
Do the reciprocal of 1/3.
do the reciprocal of 1/3. Why?
Because that's like the first thing you get out of the way.
Okay, because we wanna get rid of our fraction. Why is he multiplying by the reciprocal of 1/3?
Because you don't divide fractions.
Because we don't divide, because this means multiply, right? And I thought the inverse of multiplication was division. It is, right? Except the problem is we don't divide what? Fractions. Dividing fractions is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal, right? That's how we divide fractions. So I'm going to multiply this entire thing by 3. Because the reciprocal of 1/3 is 3/1. So we don't have to put the over 1 there, right? Then I have to multiply this entire side by 3. Everybody okay with that? How many of you, that was your first step? You multiplied both sides by 3. Good. You may not have known what to do after that, but you got that far. What is 3b? Or 3 times b?
3b.
3b is equal to, what happens here? They cancel out and I'm left with what? R squared h. Now let me ask you this question. Do we really care what 1/3 of pi is? No. Do we even care in this case what pi is? No. We want just everything rewritten so that h is solved for. So do we have to put a value in for pi? No, we can just leave it in terms of pi, right? We can just leave it as a pi. Everybody okay with that? All right, good. So, now what do I have going on? I've got what going on? Yes, sir?
I divided it by pi r squared.
You divided it by pi r squared. Okay, how come?
That way I could isolate the h.
Okay, so we want to isolate the h. All these are technically being multiplied. Everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
The inverse of multiplication is what? Division. So, did anybody divide by pi first and get left with just r squared h? And then you were like, wait, how do I divide by r squared? Right? So if you've got to do the same thing, the two things, and you can do them all at the same time, just do it at the same time. It saves you a step, okay? So I can divide by both pi and r squared. Everybody agree? And then I can divide over here by both pi and r squared. Everybody agree?
Yes.
Okay? What happens here?
There's cancel.
Cancel. What happens here? Cancel. Is h now officially by itself?
Yes.
Yes. So h can now officially be equal to what? 3v over pi r squared. So 3 times the volume divided by pi times the radius squared. How many of the rest of you got that? I told you some of you were going to be pleasantly surprised.
I put H on the other side.
You could have put h on the other side, that's okay. Everybody good? We okay? We see, those of us that did not get it right, we see where we went wrong. Yes? Okay, that's important. You just not got my shirt?
Nothing to be scared of. I just got that. Mr. Benny thinking about it.
Like it. So you've been thinking about all this word.
Yeah.
What is our shirt? What does that mean?
I was thinking about going to the back to school meeting. I'm going back to school for It took my mom forever to get that.
Did it? Alright, so here we go. You might want to write this one on your like legit note paper. Although it will be uploaded to your Google Classroom later so that you will be able to replay the lesson in its entirety. Okay, Are you ready? Yes, I'm ready. Got it written down somewhere so we can work it together? All right, what do I need to solve for? Yes, ma'am. C. Okay, so here is what I'm solving for, C. Now, what's in the way of that? Like, what do you think our first step should be? Like, if you were doing this and I wasn't here and we weren't, and you were like, I don't know, and you were taking a shot in the dark, what would your first step be to do? Like, what would you do? Austin, what would you do? If you were just hanging out looking at this problem going, I have zero help, I don't know what to do, but I'm gonna pick something to do first, what would you pick to do first? Fraction. The fraction. Okay, now let me ask you this question. When you multiply by that fraction, well, how are you gonna get rid of that fraction? The reciprocal, but what are you gonna do with the reciprocal? Multiply. You're gonna have to multiply by this whole side, right? Because how many terms do you have on this side? 2. So that means this has to get multiplied by 5/9, right? Which will cancel out and not give me a fraction. But this right here also has to be multiplied by what? 5/9, which is gonna just give you a what? Another fraction. Okay? So while that is a legitimate first step, and it's totally doable, do you want to do that as your first step? Probably not, because we want to work smarter, not harder, and that's working harder. Okay? So let me ask you this question. If it were like that, and I asked you to solve for x, what would you do?
I would subtract 4.
You would subtract 4 from both sides, right? Why is this any different? Just because this has a fraction isn't a big deal. What if it was like this? And I asked you to solve. What would you do? Is equal to, I don't know, 10. What would you do? You would still subtract 4, right? So why is this any different? It's not. What should you do first? Yes, sir.
Subtract 32.
Subtract the 32. So let's go ahead and subtract 32 from both sides. Now, you've got to be careful how you write this. How are you going to write this on this side? Is it being multiplied? No. How are you going to write this side? Luke?
F minus 32.
F minus 32. F minus 32. F minus 32. Because I'm not multiplying it, I'm subtracting 32 from whatever I have from F. Now, that's going to equal 9/5C. Everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Now then. Dun, dun, dun. What do you want to do? Yes, ma'am.
We can multiply 5
Okay, so I gotta multiply this side over here by 5/9. Why did you choose to multiply by 5/9?
It's the reciprocal of 9.
Okay, and the inverse of division, or multiplication is division, but we don't divide fractions, we multiply by the reciprocal. Everybody agree? Now, she said I have to multiply both sides. So how do I show that this whole side gets multiplied? Any thoughts?
Do distributive property?
Well, do I do distributive property or do I show distributive property?
Show.
I show show distributive property? How do I go about showing distributive property?
You do the parentheses.
I have to put this in parentheses, because that whole side, and that means everything, so I group it together with a set of parentheses. This whole side has to be multiplied by what? 5/9. Now, you want to keep this as simplistic as possible. So instead of actually distributing, you can simply just write it and then over here, ta-da, there you go. That's it. You thought it was going to be much more complicated than that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Have a little faith. Have a little faith. Okay. Are we good? Okay.
If we do some homework, how will we know that
When you isolate the variable that they want it to be isolated by,
how many times should I do it?
I guess you'll have to wait and see. Doesn't matter, does it? Okay? We good? Yes, no, maybe? Maybe? Okay? I don't know why I make these up. I end up writing it anyway. Okay. Do this one when you're ready, and let me know when you're ready.
All right.
Oh, you're good. Just read your email, actually. Okay, let me know when you're ready. Do the best you can do. That's all right, do the best you can do. What's gonna happen, you get it wrong? All right. You just do your best, think, what do you gotta do? Remember to go back and look at the one we just did, kind of parallels it. It should be on your paper. Let me know when you're ready. All right, remember, what am I solving for? What are my inverse operations? You guys are ready? You guys are ready? These guys are ready? You're ready? Right? All right, the majority of us are ready. All right, so here we go. You ready? Who wants to share? What are we flip yours back over so you can look at it so you know what's going on. Okay? What do you want to do first? Well, first of all, what are we solving for? What are we solving for? R. R is here. It's attached to this term, right? So, what do you want to do? Let me talk to somebody I haven't talked to today. Who have I not talked to today? Miss Bandy, I have not talked to you today. What did you do first?
I subtracted P.
You subtracted the pink.
Yeah.
Because it's not even related to this term at all and doesn't even need to be there. How many of you concur with Miss Bandy that we should subtract P? How many of you did that first? Excellent, all right. Why did you choose to subtract?
Adding it, or, yeah.
What do we call that? What? Inverse operations. Okay, so we're going to subtract the P. T minus P. All right, so anyone else? T minus P is equal to what? P R T. Now, let's not forget, what am I solving for? R. All right, I'm solving for R. Mr. Stratton, what do you want to do now?
Divide by PT,
Why?
because you want to isolate the R,
Okay, but why did you choose to divide?
because it's the inverse operation of multiplication.
Okay, so we have multiplication here, inverse is division, so we get to divide. Everybody okay with that? What about over here? What'd you do over here?
Just
Divided by PT on each one or all together? Like, did you put a big line like I did, or did you put two little lines and then you put a big line like I did? Because the whole thing has to be, right? Anybody put this part in parentheses to indicate the whole thing had to be? Okay. Because that's the only thing that's in the numerator, we don't have to put them in parentheses, but if you did, it's not incorrect. Okay. So divide by PT. Here I get T minus P divided by PT is equal to, those cancel, and we get R. Everybody okay with that? Yes or maybe? All right, show me your answers. How many of you got that right? Very good. Good. Very, very good. Those of us that did not, do we have questions about where we were wrong or how to correct it, how to fix it? No? Are we sure? We good? Yes or maybe? Okay. Now, remember, when you get to your homework, there's not a way for me to be able to show you an example of every kind of problem you're ever going to see. What I can help you do is to remind you to isolate your variable by using your inverse operations of what you've been given. All right? Here's what I would very much like for you to do. I would very much like for you to clean your red when ready. You're going to need to put your red when ready back in your binder. You're going to need to, you can continue to do this on the notes that you've got going on, or you can continue to, will you hit that red flashing button, please?